NornQueenAlexis, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to the Beginner's Guide series. In this series, this is a basic starter for Warhammer 40k. I'm not going to go into advanced tactics or strategies that are too complicated for brand new players. This series is to help out those who are literally just stepping into the hobby. So if you're trying to get your friends involved, if your family is looking for something to get you, or if they themselves want to get involved in this hobby, this is a great place to start. In this episode, we're going to be going over the Orcs, the big, the mean, the green. I absolutely love the Orcs. They are so much fun, and they are slightly the comic relief of 40k, but at the same time, absolutely horrifying to the enemies. So in this series, I'm going to cover their basic lore, their strategy, and a beginner's guide of what to buy for your first $100 into this hobby. Now, I do have to state this. $100 into a hobby is not much. Compare it to Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh!, any other TCG game. Imagine if you were a gun collector. $100 for a gun sounds awesome. Anyway, let's dive right into it. What are the Orcs in Warhammer 40k? The Orcs are a race created by the Old Ones, sentient beings that are essentially gods, that created them in a last-ditch effort to fight up against the Necrons and their gods, the Satan. This happened well over 60 million years ago to current-day lore. I know this is a lot to be thrown at you. Gods were fighting robot men. Robot men used gods that eat gods to help them. Old frog people, known as the Old Ones, were losing. So they started creating races in order to protect against them. 3 of the races that they created were the Eldari or Asinari, the Orks or Korks as they were called at the time, and the rather unusual but the Jakaro simians. But we're not going to get too much into that. Needless to say, the Orcs eventually did win/lose the war, depending on which lore source you go by. But the Orcs to everything was a victory because they got to fight. After killing their oppressors, they decided that the galaxy was theirs by right of might. So they decided to punch literally everything into submission. Going on a galactic conquest, the Orcs spread throughout everywhere. The Orcs have an innate ability of understanding technology regardless of the race that uses it. They have the ability to create warp drives out of a trash can and a bubblegum. They have the ability to understand technologies that we ourselves could not comprehend. The Orcs also have the innate understanding built directly into their genetics on how to operate, find, and locate another fight. They tend to listen to the biggest one, and he is usually dubbed the war boss. Under him is the nobles or nobs, usually elite bodyguards / rivals of the war boss. Under them are the basic infantry of the Orcs known as boys. This is not a depiction of their gender. This is actually just the unit type and what they are called. Under them you have the Grots or Gretchen, the smaller goblin-like race that is enslaved to the Orcs. Under them you have the Runties or Runts, which are even smaller Gretchen. Then you have the Squig beasts or Squiggly beasts, which are essentially a ball of fun with teeth that eat everything that make up the primary food source of the Orcoid species. Then under them you have the varying species of the Squigoid, and some of the Squigoids do evolve into something bigger called a Squigoth or Gargantuan Squigoth, which are just gargantuan versions of the Squig beasts. Then you have their crazy mechanics. I know I'm throwing a lot at you, and I do apologize about this. As I said before, the Orcs have a inbuilt genetic understanding of their technologies. This is unlocked similar to that of a skill tree. Where there's 10 Orcs, they'll probably start making crude weapons such as axes and swords. When there's 100 Orcs, they might start making primitive firearms, slingshots, bows and arrows. When there's 1,000 orcs, they'll start working with black powder weaponry, start using explosions and things of that nature. When there's a couple thousand orcs, they'll start understanding technologies that they shouldn't have any right to, such as making vehicles, bikes, cars, trucks, battle wagons. And once they reach a certain amount, they begin understanding pretty much everything. Once they get a proper WAAAGH going, a WAAAGH being a warband or a group of orcs that numbers in the tens of thousands, they can start making advanced technologies like aircraft, spaceships, space hulks, which is crazy to think about. Space Hulk is the amalgamation of many different spaceships that the orcs just strap rockets to and use. They can even weaponize entire planets. And I'm dead serious about this. In the War of the Beasts series, the orcs weaponized 6 attack moons that they flew out of orbit and into Terra's orbit. They can also master teleportation technology, the ability to kill demons, Guller fields. They can master combat systems that can beat each and every single race in 40k. If the orcs truly unify, there is nothing that can stop the big green. So, with that all said, and all of that thrown at you, the orcs are kind of the rednecks of 40k that can put everything back together with some duct tape and engineering. Or orcineering. That was a bad joke, I'm sorry. So, when it comes down to it, the orcs' basic strategy is go that way as quickly as possible and punch the thing in the face hole. If it doesn't have a face, they will create a face in order for them to punch it. The orcs are surprisingly good at shooting and are a solid mid-range to close-range army. They are probably the best close combat army out of the Xenos factions, and they are surprisingly good at shooting. It blows my mind that statistically the orcs might be the best shooting army in 40k, because they have a ton of bullets and the ability called DACA, which allows them to, on an unmodified roll of a 5+, hit their target no matter what, and score an additional hit to that target. I think it's actually 6+. I might have that wrong. But they have the ability to gain extra shots and guarantee their hits. So the orcs are actually a terrifying faction to face against. Their tactics range from get them as quickly as possible into combat to controlling objectives. Orcs are pretty well-rounded for every single encounter that they face. Their numbers ensure that they can win most close combats, and if they can't, they simply gun it down. So, with that said, let's move on to what you should purchase for your first $100 into your orc army. To know the orcs is to know what a swarm is and to know what 1,000 models on the tabletop is about. Orcs typically have 90 boys. I'm not kidding, it's a lot. They are a swarm army. So when it comes down to it, I don't suggest to start collecting as it comes with a Death Dread. And Death Dreads, even though they got a buff, are still not that good. And I would advise not getting to start collecting. So moving right into it, there are several HQs that you can get, but the one that I always suggest to everybody is a Big Mech with a shock attack gun. The shock attack gun is excellent long-range attack power, combining the craziness of the orc technology as well as being a devastating weapon that the orcs could use to kill anything from basic infantry, heavy infantry, tanks, and if you roll lucky enough, even Titans can die to this weapon. There are some stratagems in the game to make this weapon even more deadly, so keep that in mind. From there, I would highly suggest that you go with boys once I can find them. 2 squads of boys would get you up to $70, plus the Big Mech gets you up to $107, I believe. It's a little bit more than my typical beginner's guide stuff. Or if a shock attack gun and a Big Mech is in your standard and you want to go for the big, the mean, and a war boss, something tough and good at fighting, you can go with the war boss the boss mob here, which includes 1 war boss and 5 knobs. In order to do this, you're going to need a vehicle to get them into close combat. I suggest a truck, as that would be the best. Where is the truck? So you're looking at 90 already, and then possibly from there get some grots to fill out your troop choices, because, well, you're going to need some grots for troops. Grots also act as a shield for the orcs themselves with a proper stratagem, using them as a grot shield, passing wounds on from your characters into the grot squad and allowing them to die instead. So if you have a war boss moving up the field, you keep some grots next to him, or if you have a big mech with custom with the shock attack gun in the back, you can kill the Gretchen instead of having him take the wounds. So grots are just a solid choice from there. But unfortunately, that is a lot of money, because that's 90, that's 108, which I think is an okay start. If you do 2 squads of Gretchen, you can do a proper patrol detachment and actually have a really good start to an orc army. From there, it's literally about buying boys until you get up to the certain number that you want. If you want to do a full truck army, I would highly suggest filling out those knobs to 9. So getting another box of knobs and then converting one into a pain boy just by giving him the saw and a surgical instrument. A quick conversion can turn a knob into a pain boy and make it another efficient HQ. Or you can give him a staff by asking one of your friends in the hobby itself to give you a stick, and you can make a weird boy. Weird boys are excellent HQ choices that combine their warpy technology or warpy abilities, as well as being just pretty much a beast in combat. When it comes to the orcs, there's really nothing bad to choose, but I highly suggest you stick with the rule of 3. If you are to get one of the orc things, get 3 of it instead. The shock jump dragsta, for instance, one of them is really good, 3 of them are amazing. The battle wagon, 1 is good, 3 are amazing. Boy squads, 1 squad of boys is really good, 3 squads of boys at full numbers is excellent. So, I hope this video was helpful. I know it's pretty short, but it's all I can give you for right now. When you step into the orcs, you have to properly get into their mantra. You have to cheer and wah as soon as your orc starts shooting, gunning things down, or dying, because it is all about having fun with this faction. Are they the best? No, not really. But are they the most fun? Absolutely. And if you need some inspiration for an orc army, the studio orc army that is being worked on is known as the New Orcas, because New Yorkers. Now, with that all said, I want to thank everybody for watching. Please check out all the links in the description down below. There you can follow me on all sorts of social media. Follow me on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, as well as Patreon. Patreon goes a long way to help supporting the channel, especially now with this outbreak going on. I am unfortunately out of work, so I'm kind of relying on YouTube and my Patreon to get me through these times. So with that all said, please check it out. As always, I'm NornQueenAlexis. I love you guys. Bye.